Power, pride, and the beauty of evil. Hello, this is Shores of Infinity with your host Chris speaking today about the beauty of evil, power, and pride. Pride is the highest of the negative emotions. People who seem to be evil are usually caught in very low vibrations and emotions like shame, guilt, and fear, or maximum anger, but not beyond that. Some very few make it up to pride. Pride is what overcomes the negative emotions and then can go on to neutral and positive emotions and states and vibrations. Recently, I participated in a family constellation where I represented the grandfather of someone who participated in the Second World War as a Skull Division SS officer. And it was very interesting to feel what he felt. It was mostly pride. It was power, strength, and pride. He was really convinced that he was doing the right thing. He wasn't evil, not even arrogant. He felt he was doing the right thing. He was part of a great movement. And he was very proud of being part of that and being that powerful. And that is very close to what villains often feel. We always think these people must be so evil, but often they convince themselves that their program that they're going through with is somehow good for the world or for a certain type of people. In the old days, we had famous villains like Hitler and Stalin and Mao Zedong and Pol Pot and so on. Nowadays we have villains like good old Bill and good old Klaus and Klaus's followers, who are usually politicians in influential countries, high up, top politicians, or multinational companies or foundations like the Gates Foundation or so. They don't answer to anyone, and they just buy up everyone. They buy up the WHO, they buy up politicians, bribe them, they buy up newspapers and media stuff, and pharma companies, and weapons companies, and tech companies, and so on. So these are the challenges we face nowadays. And it's very hard to think that these people are not evil and should be stopped somehow. But from a higher spiritual perspective, I discussed this with two people who are fully enlightened and in third tier spiral dynamics and above 700 on the Hawking scale. On the one hand, from that perspective, they're clueless. They're just caught in their negative emotions and thrashing around like small children who are having a tantrum. They cannot face their fears and their shame and their guilt, and they're projecting. They're projecting on the outside world instead of solving their own problems. They're trying to solve the problems of the world in a very, very sick way. And many of them are sick themselves. At least they have a personality disorder like narcissism or psychopathy or borderline or whatever. But one of the two people I asked, he said there's also some beauty in that kind of evil. Let's call it evil. It's not really evil, but there's beauty in the choice that is possible, that someone can err so far, go astray so far, that there's this possibility for human beings to go in any direction. And the other one said, and that we need these kind of James Bond villains who are plotting to take over the world and killing people left and right to unite. We don't have something like an alien invasion or something that would unite humanity and make them to jump to a higher state of consciousness. But we have things like, world wars and what happened 3 years ago, the pandemic and so on. I think that make people pause and then progress, transform, to realize, okay, this can't go on this way, there's something wrong here. And then you can make a leap of consciousness, a quantum leap. Otherwise, most people don't bother to change anything. They just, if life can go on that way if it's not too uncomfortable. They just continue in their routines, destroying the planet and whatnot. There's almost no one alive anymore who remembers how it was during the Third Reich in Germany in the 30s and 40s. But there are a lot of people still who remember the communist or would-be communist socialist regimes in Russia and Cambodia and China and Vietnam and so on. How this suppression and this brainwashing works. And we shudder to think what geniuses like Stalin and Goebbels and Mao Zedong would have done nowadays with the possibilities of media brainwashing that are available nowadays, and that are used by similar people in a modern fashion, paired with most people's total inability to recognize psychopaths and narcissists. We are not taught to recognize them, so we usually don't. But as our human culture and society is going to hell in a handbasket, and we're steering towards World War III and a total poisoning of the planet's surface, people have to wake up. There's no choice anymore. Actually, there's no choice anymore, but for some people, they still don't wake up. Maybe 80% of all people just don't want to wake up. You shake them and they still don't want to wake up. What does it need for people, for the majority, to wake up and see that this is some kind of weird game? What did someone recently say? Sorry, I forgot the exact words, but some poet said that this is a really sick game that seems to be going on here. A really weird game, and we don't know the rules. And the divine seems to have fun with it. Anyway, the only explanation that somehow makes sense is that it is, like Aurobindo says, the purpose of humanity to wake up and to manifest higher states of consciousness, to get out of this ignorance into some kind of supramental enlightenment. And we need something to prod us there. There seems to be too much inertia to go there quickly or at all. So now, last century and now this century, there are more and more of these pokings, jabs, challenges, provocations, and ridiculous, absurd, bizarre scenarios going on that it's actually almost impossible to understand how not everyone woke up already. So as long as people don't wake up in a big major way, there will be more and more of these confrontations and more of these supervillains leading the charge. It's like a strategy game, only that we're not the players, we're the tiny soldiers. And all of us, we are convinced that we're doing the right thing. Even the ones who appear to be the villains, the evil ones, the evil Knievels, even they think they're doing the right thing and are proud of it. And enjoying power. There's nothing a helpless person enjoys more than power. Power is... it's something that we don't experience as children. So children also want to experience power. That's why they rebel at some point. They don't understand why they don't have the same rights as adults. A lot of people, especially supervillains, they're stuck in a childhood trauma, in a childhood state of consciousness, like children between 2 and 4 years who are throwing their tantrums. They're stuck in that developmental stage. In Freudian terms, is the anal stage, yeah? So they feel the strong need to control something. they can't control their inner life, so they try to control something in the outer world. And then relish in that experience and sense of power. It's like the bully in the playground who gets beat up at home and then beats up smaller kids in the playground or the sandbox or the alley. Behind that is fear, shame, and guilt. But it is also an opportunity, like Carlos Castaneda, for example, describes, or his teacher. Bullies, they're tyrants. They represent opportunities to go beyond our own limitations and fears, beyond our own shame and guilt, to go further, to grow, to jump. And this is the beauty of evil. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and joining me on Patreon. Thank you for recommending this channel to others. It helps other people find this channel who otherwise wouldn't. Thank you, of course, to those who are already patrons of this channel. Thank you very much.